Good morning, Ramanathan, and welcome all the participants to the session. So, I welcome you to the Smart Talk session. Today's Sunday session, we are having our special friend B. Ramanathan as our guest. He is going to talk about in our conversation, learn to live. This is that aspect of our life which we missed many times, and when we realize that we have came across a long distance. We have traveled a long distance. So this is an opportunity for us to look after, to understand, to see from the different perspective what we can do, how we can do, and what we can achieve. And everyone is having those desires, those aspirations for their life that I want to live it at fullest. So this conversation, I'm sure, will give us, going to give us lot of opportunity, lot of exploration around this area. So once again, welcome to the show. And before starting this session, I would like to introduce Ramanathan. Uh, he is a visionary, he is a professional trainer, and is ICF. ICF is an international coaching federation. So he's a ICF certified coach. So we would love to know a little more about Ramanathan from his mouth. So request Ramanathan to share a small journey of your life with all of us. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Vivek. I am privileged and honored to be part of your Smart Talk shows. Thank you for this opportunity. About me, I started my career in pharma industry 30 years back, and I've been in the same industry for 30 years, but at different companies and different roles, different geographies. I've been in sales for 23 years, and then I moved to training and then to learning and organizational development. And now I am part of the learning and organizational development with Sun Pharma. So that's about a brief insight into my journey.
So that's great to know how you traveled across different functions, different roles in your journey, in your professional journey. So I am eager to know if you have to describe yourself in few words, how would you describe yourself after this long journey or after this distance traveled?
Oh yes, uh, I am. I would like to. I mean, I consider myself as a perennial optimist, and even in the worst of the situation, I've always been optimist. But more importantly, what I have discovered about myself is how little I know of myself and how much more is there for us to learn in life. That realization has come, in the recent past. And I've been a avid learner, continuous learner, and I believe that learning happens from womb to tomb.
Right. So when you said you that you are an optimist as well as a learner, so how can we see that both these two aspects or two important areas of your life or you are learning about these two areas of life and how this is helping you in this part of journey?
Yes, definitely. As a matter of fact, being a perennial optimist, uh, setbacks in life, challenges in life has never put me off.
Raju meeting like Raju.
So, yes. So setbacks in life has never been, had never put me off, and I have been able to face a lot of challenges confidently. And being a, perennial learner again has helped me to grow and develop a lot. And I have come from a modest background, and most of my learnings I has happened in my journey in my professional career. I consider myself as a self-made man, and all the all the learnings have happened in my professional career. I owe a lot of my development to my tenure in Pfizer, where I was there for more than 16 years. And the largest time period I've spent in an organization was in Pfizer. And then I was with Novo Nordisk, and then with Ranbaxy, and now with Sun Pharma. So, and Pfizer has given me that opportunity, the background, the ecosystem with their excellent training and all, which has helped me develop a lot.
So we will come back to this aspect of learning and training a bit later in the conversation. So now I want to ask you, what do you mean by living?
Yes. At a very simplistic level, we are all living. It's being alive and kicking. Mm-hmm. Especially in these COVID times, I think if you are, safe and healthy, you are very blessed.
Right.
But I think our life has to have a lot of purpose. And many of us don't understand the purpose of life, or many of us don't have a purpose in life. The fact is that
this is very good point which you I would also request you to little elaborate during your sharing. For a purpose of life and not knowing why we are living. So that is very important point for me.
Absolutely. And the moment you understand the purpose of your life, or you have a purpose in your life, I think the dimensions of your life and your approach to life completely changes. I have also been like that for a long part of my career. In the early stages, I had always looked for my month-end salary, and ultimately that became the purpose of life,
Right.
And nothing wrong in that, because at that point of time, my basic needs were being taken care of, and that's what Maslow's hierarchy of needs also talks about. So once those basic needs are met, we evolve and we grow. And that growth happens when it is more guided and more and trained. And that is where I've been a little fortunate. Let me tell you an example in my life. When I was in the early stages of my career, I had a classmate of mine and a couple of classmates, we met together. And he was a very successful businessman. He had his own consultancy firm and an advertising agency. And we were when he was talking about it, I gave him a solution, and that solution appeared to him, very impressive. As a matter of fact, he was quite impressed, and he said that you made the solution look like a no-brainer. We have been struggling with this problem for at that point of time, and my salary month end is very important. And I cannot join a startup company or a young company like yours. He understood my point and even said that, okay, I will give you 2 years salary in advance if that's your concern. So are you interested in taking up? I said, no. Even then I said, no. He asked me, why is that? I'll give you a stake in the company, he said. I said, no. And he was baffled. He said, why is that you're doing this? I said, no, I'm happy where I am. And my other friend who was there sitting with me, he laughed and said he does not know what happiness is. And that was a fact. In hindsight, of course, at that point of time, I did not realize, but I thought I was happy. And the fact is that I did not realize what happiness is. And many times, many of us think we are happy, but we don't know what happiness is. We think we have a purpose. We don't know what purpose could be, and that realization happened a long time later. As a matter of fact, each one of us have a lot of aspirations and goals, as you started in the beginning. Each one of us have a lot of aspirations. I am yet to find a person in the last 30 years who says, no, I don't have any goals in life. I don't have any aspirations in life. Have you come across a person who does not have aspiration? Never. All of us have aspirations in life. But
So,
some of us,
if for me, it's like if I don't have any aspiration or goal, so I'm not living.
exactly. And the fact is that everybody in this universe have an aspiration, have goals, want to achieve something. Anybody who joins an organization wants to do very well. Nobody joins an organization thinking that I'm not going to do well in this company. But over a period of time in the journey, something happens. And some of them really do well in life. Some of them fall somewhere between. And what is that which makes people do succeed very well in life? And some of them just live their life waiting for the month-end salary, and some of them fall down also somewhere in between. And that's a very interesting aspect that one can understand and one can learn about. We have a lot of potential inside me, and there's a saying, Asavavadityo Brahma, Brahmai Vahamasmi, which means that Brahman, that is the universal consciousness, is within each one of us. Each one of us have a lot of potential inside us. How well we realize our own potential and how well we develop on that is what makes a person successful. I think whatever that's required for our growth and development is not lying outside, it's all lying inside us.
Right.
So
that's I think that's the crux here, that if we are living and if there is no purpose, no goal, and if we are not aware about it, and if we are aware about it, that makes a huge difference in the way we see things around us, the way we live, and the way we are contributing with every opportunity what we are getting. So that's right. But with this, so my one more question which is coming to my mind is, can you remember anything in your life which gives you lot of joy or happiness or meaning to your purpose?
yes, as a matter of fact, what keeps me going in my current job is the difference I've been able to make in people's life. And that's what gives me a lot of happiness. And that's what motivates me. On the day I am not able to make a meaningful impact on others' life, I feel that, my life is not, and this I have discovered only in the recent past. Whereas in the early stage of my career, I never knew what drives me.
Right.
And if you ask my purpose of life now, I've been selling medicines for 30 years. I've been in pharma industry, helping people cure their disease or helping them live well by selling some quality products, pharmaceutical products. However, I would like to spend the remaining part of my life to help people live healthier and fuller lives without the need for medicine. And it's possible. And for
Right.
that, it just depends on how much we understand ourselves, how much we understand our body, how much we understand our thoughts, and how much we are in sync with nature. And all this can actually help us ensure that we lead a very healthy life devoid of medications. And I would like to dedicate my remaining part of my life to helping people live without the need for medicines. And I strongly believe that it's possible.
Right. So, Rama, actually your bandwidth is very low during the conversation. So,
Yes.
do you have any other option of connecting to any other Wi-Fi or network? If not, we will go ahead.
Just hold on. You're not able to hear me?
Yes.
Let me change my place. I'll go to the room where this connectivity could be better. Can you please hold on?
Yeah, the bandwidth is fluctuating a lot, so voice is not.
Yeah, is it okay? Is it okay now?
Right now it is coming right. Bandwidth is showing.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. So,
yeah, if there's a disturbance, I will complete the video.
Right.
Will it help if I switch off my video?
Yeah. For now, it's okay. But in case you will see bandwidth is low, you can do that. Anyway, you will be aware about it on your part. Yeah. So, I'm eager to know about that. Who had the biggest impact on your life or on the person you have become today? Because it is every time when you are sharing something, it is pushing my thoughts, and I'm eager to know a little more about it. So I would like to know if there is anyone whom you can refer or anything who had made an impact on your life.
I would say, my mom had a lot of impact, my influence. She dedicates her life to helping others, and and she's always there for others to help them when they are in need, and that has made that gives her a lot of happiness, as a matter of fact. And I would also like to give the example of my father-in-law. As a matter of fact, he had retired and he had gone to his place. But after going there, he had actually showed how to live life of post-retirement, how one can dedicate their self to the cause of society. The place where he had gone. I'm not talking about the higher levels of, making impact on people's life. In a simple way, in the place where he had built his house, there were no roads, there were no street lights. So there were no, he involved the entire community. He brought them together. He got the signatures from everybody. He coordinated with, his entire life he had dedicated to a common cause, to the public, to helping others. And it has made a huge impact in the place where he lived. This place where he lived had, very good roads, concrete roads, street light. He got a garden made, public garden made, maintained. I think that's the way one should retire. When we retire in life, we are not retiring. It's another life. And how much we are dedicating ourselves to the cause of others, how we can help others and make a contribution to the society is what actually gives a lot of happiness. And I draw inspiration from these actions, basically.
Absolutely. So why I ask this, because when we are in a journey of exploring, when we are in a journey of recognizing what is the purpose, what is the meaning, and so like what you mentioned also, that what is making you today, uh, or pushing you to go to your office and give your best. So that is that value addition or the contribution you are making in the people's life. And in the same, and the other aspect of this is someone somewhere or some part of your life has had influence, has an influence on us, and that impact or made our life the way it is today, or the way how we are looking it towards it, in the way that is how I see. So now we know that what is what is the purpose of living, what is the living means, and how we are shaping up during this journey. So
I
next
think
question, what
that
I
is essential part on with everybody's life,
absolutely
and we all are influenced by some people in our life, and I think that influence makes a large impact on our life and our approach to life.
right. So what is I'm also thinking about what is there to learn to live.
Oh, okay. That's a very interesting question. Uh, I strongly believe that the more we know ourselves, the more we
Right,
grow in our life. So, uh, and how do you know yourself? How do you understand yourself? I strongly believe that yoga is one way of understanding yourself. And if I ask anybody what is yoga, people would say that yoga is asana, meditation, exercise, and things like that. But for me, yoga is a way of life. Why yoga is a way of life? Because when you do an asana for the first time, supposing you're supposed to bend at your hip and touch the toes without bending the knees. The first time one does, he may not even able to touch his knee, leave alone the toes. But that, and then he continuously keeps practicing. He sees the progress he's making. He's able to go beyond the knees, able to go to the ankle, and one day he touches the toes. And that's the progress he makes. But what does this teach us in our life? Wherever we are, whatever we do, if we are aware of where we are and what is the progress we do constantly when we keep practicing, you will be, and if you are aware of where you want to be and you see the progress happening, you will achieve what you want to achieve. And that's exactly what yoga teaches us. Yoga teaches us to understand where we are, where we want to be, and what's the progress we make in life in that direction. If we can apply this principle to every aspect of our life in understanding where we are and where we want to be, I think we are growing every day. And this essential component of self-awareness is an essential part of growth. And that's what actually yoga teaches you. And when you want to grow in life, when you want to realize your own potential, I said there's a lot of potential inside each one of us. And if you want to achieve your true potential, you have to have a healthy body with a healthy mind and stable emotions. And for all this, yoga helps a lot. I'll give another simple example. You have a child in a house, the child keeps running the whole day and the child never gets tired. Evening when the dad comes home and the child tells the father, Papa will go, come, we'll play. The father is very tired. Why? He is tired after having a hard day's work at home and then comes back in office and comes back home. He is very tired. And what is the hard day's work? He has gone in his bike or car to his office. He had sat in his office for a long time, worked, gone here and there, and then come back again in the car and bike, and he's tired. Where the child runs the whole day but never gets tired. Why is the child is never getting tired? Whereas we as adults get tired after doing that hard work in the office. And the possible reason, and this is a valid reason, is that the child's ejection fraction, that is the amount of blood the heart pumps and pushes out in relation to the amount of blood the left ventricles fill in. That's the ratio, amount of blood that left ventricles fill in and amount of blood that's pushed out. This ejection fraction is around 74% for children, whereas as we grow, it comes down to an average of 54%. And therefore, the child has more blood pumped out and therefore is very, never gets tired even though it's running the whole day. Whereas we get tired after some time. And how do you improve this ejection fraction? And the only way to improve ejection fraction is by pranayama. And today, the European Society of Cardiology has published a study as late as 2017, where they have done pranayama for patients who had had a heart attack and had stenting. And those patients were divided into two groups. One group had done pranayama along with other medications, and other group had only medications. And they found the ejection fraction improved significantly. So by doing pranayama regularly, you can actually stay active, never get tired, feel energetic for a long time. And like that, every aspect of our ancient wisdom, be it meditation, be it pranayama, be it yogasana, all this actually is going to help us realize our own true potential. And especially in situations like these times, in COVID times, when will this COVID end? There's no answer for that. So does it mean that we have to remain in a lockdown for a long time, indefinitely? Definitely not. That's not a solution either. So what is the solution then? It's how you equip yourself, how you make yourself immune. You raise your immunity and go out, of course, with all precautions, and learn to live with this virus is the way forward. And if you have to develop immunity, I think your yoga, your pranayama, meditation, all this actually helps a lot in building up your immunity and learning to live with nature. The micronutrients and nutrients play a very important role, and that's why your fruits and vegetables consumption, all this plays a very important role. So the more you learn to live in sync with the nature, you will be better able to cope up with these challenges that life throws out. And I think all this needs to be learned. You cannot start, you cannot build up your immunity. You cannot build a strong, healthy mind and a healthy body without doing anything. You need to learn to do something. And when you're able to do that, you are actually, realizing the true potential of your life. And I think that's something which all of us need to learn to live.
Yes, having a balancing approach and how to balance yourself with respect to the nature, with respect to the different. Am I audible?
Yeah, your voice was going down. Now it's better.
Okay. So, with respect to the nature, with respect to the our needs, with respect to supply, the Maslow theory which you touched upon. So, if I go with that, so considering my basic needs or whatever I'm expecting or looking forward to achieve all those, I need to be balanced. I need to be well equipped with my understanding as well as understanding of others, so that I can take best out of it. So this is how I see it when you are saying learning. So the purpose of learning is to live at fullest. The basic objective or the basic purpose with which we are looking or trying to exploring different aspects of life. So one thing which you also talked about, the self-awareness part, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm curious here how this, though I can understand the connection, but how this self-awareness will help me to know to balance with respect to the nature or anything else, which is the need of time. So why I should aware myself?
Very interesting question. Uh, you know, in many of my programs, I tell people that nobody makes a mistake. People get bewildered. I said, nobody makes a mistake. I said, yes, nobody makes a mistake.
Hmm.
The reason is because if a person knows it's a mistake, he would not do it. All of us want to, when you join an organization, for example, everybody wants to do well. And when everybody wants to do well, will they make a mistake? But then why is that mistake happening? That's
Hmm.
probably because he feels that's the right way to do. And therefore he is doing it.
Right.
So many times we think what we are doing is right and we do.
Hmm.
So, and that's the reason I strongly believe nobody makes a mistake.
Hmm.
But if somebody were to tell him that there's a better way to do it, and you know, then he will change. But for that change also to happen, how receptive he is to uh, receiving that also makes a lot of importance. And
Hmm.
that's the reason many times unlearning is very important for a learning to happen.
Hmm.
And that's
Hmm.
where a guru makes a lot of difference in our life, or a coach or a mentor makes a lot of difference in your life, where they are able to unlearn some aspects of your life to make you learn something else.
Hmm.
And this
Hmm.
process of unlearning to learn something is what a guru, a coach, a mentor can make a difference. And that's important. And only then they realize that there's a better way to do, or what they are doing is probably not the right way, and there's a better way to do. And that is what self-awareness is all about. In the initial stages of life, there are people to tell you, but as you grow in your career, as you grow in your life, not many people tell you.
Hmm.
And then your self-awareness, if it's very high, you realize what you're doing. Is it right? Or it can be there can be a better way. What are the impact of what are you doing? And that's where self-awareness helps a lot. As a matter of fact, my ISAPS program, the Indian Society of Applied Behavioral Science, the basic lab and advanced lab has really helped me a lot to have a lot of insights into what I am, who I am.
Hmm. So, what I understand is self-awareness will help me to reflect, help me to know the areas where I need to work upon, where I need to change my perception, or I need to know what I am doing, why I am doing, rather than someone else is helping me or guiding me. So it's something, if I will do, I'm more conscious, more mindful of what is I am doing and why I am doing, whether it makes sense to me, or it is just a perception that what I'm doing is the right, or is
Exactly.
it really what I'm doing is making some sense to others also, rather
Exactly.
than someone else is coming and telling us that what you are doing is not right, or
Hmm.
do some changes like a mentor or coach. That is also not wrong in any way. The point is, it's more about my own efforts towards the direction where I want to reach.
Exactly.
And
And as we grow in life, as we grow in career, there are very few people who will come and tell you what you're doing is not right. As a matter of fact, you know, at some point you will have very close people who will actually tell you. And invariably, it's your wife who tells you what you're doing is not right, it's wrong.
but
At my level, nobody will come and tell me what you're doing is not right.
but Rama, what you are saying is right. But I have another aspect to it. There are people around you, or even unknown people, ready to tell you that what you are doing is not right, or some correction is required, or what is the best way to do that. But I see two issues. One issue with me, I am not open to take it
Exactly.
from anyone,
Mm.
even my wife. And that is the reason of so much love between husband and wife. second, 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 people are fearful and they don't want to ruin the relationships, or even if there is a relation, they don't want to give a bad shape to it, or if there is no relationship, they don't bother about that. So the reason is people don't want to see uh, tell something if that is not acceptable. So the other than that, might be people are ready to help you, but how much I am ready to
To
take the help.
exactly.
That's why.
That's right, and that's where the unlearning part of it comes in, and that's where probably a guru, a coach, basically guru, coach, what they are basically doing is to help you identify your own blind spots and help you overcome those blind spots, and
If
that's where the unlearning becomes very important.
absolutely, and if I want to help myself,
Exactly.
that is the important, and that's why the self-awareness plays a very very crucial role here.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm moving in a direction of self growth, where I'm self-aware about something. I'm ready to learn and unlearn life lessons, and now I know the what I'm living for, why I'm living for. So I have these couple of answers, and doing with the tool of self-awareness, is there, and the help of coaches or gurus or mentors or family relatives and all. So now, is this enough for me to take my journey to a level where I want to take it up, or there is some other important aspects which I am still missing?
Yeah. These become the bedrock or the foundation of your development.
Okay.
Over this foundation, of course, you also need to understand what are the values of philosophy that drives you,
Okay.
and your value system makes a lot of difference, a lot of importance.
Can
Uh,
you give an example here, because that will easy to help me to understand what do you mean by value system, though I understand, but from the practical aspect, or from when it comes to the execution in my life, I will able to understand it little better.
Let me look at it. Let me try to explain in a broader perspective. You know,
Hmm.
if you look at a typical the Western philosophy, and which is what we are all taught in the organizations. What drives the Western philosophy is what's in it for me.
Hmm.
When you have a philosophy of what's in it for me, that
Hmm.
drives my action, then the end result becomes more important than the means.
Hmm.
So achieving the end result is what is most important. The means may not matter. And this is a definite way to ensure that you don't have a sustainable development, you don't have a sustainable growth.
Hmm.
And if you look at organization from a much broader perspective, if you look at organization, 12% of the Fortune 500 organizations,
Hmm.
only 12% survived over a period of 40 years, 40 to 50 years. And that has been the average age of most organizations. And that is primarily because they have been probably what's in it for me is the driving force. On the other hand, if you look at our traditional philosophy, which drives us in the past, has been no, Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu.
Right.
And I strongly believe that Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu is a philosophy which actually brings in a lot of inclusiveness, which includes a lot of diversity and sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're able to have these components of inclusivity, diversity, and sustainability, I think your growth becomes more sustainable for the simple reason that the means become more important than the ends. So, is your means more important than the ends, or is your end more important than the means? I think that makes a lot of difference in whether our growth can be sustainable or it can be for a short term.
That's a very good point, Rama. The point, but I would like to know a little more about it. When you're saying for a sustainable growth, uh, we need to be uh, focused upon the means rather than focusing on the end result. I think it's quite similar to जो गीता में भी बोला गया है कि फल की इच्छा मत करो और कर्म करो,
Exactly.
राइट? लेकिन अब मेरा 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 सवाल यहाँ पे ये है, my question is, for my growth, if I will not look for outcomes, for example, and if I am working on something and I am not looking for the outcome, like I am doing a business and I am not looking for money out of it and just doing a social service, which I heard in the organizations that we are in a business, not in a charity. And I'm not talking from the business perspective. I'm just talking from an individual point.
Absolutely. Exactly.
So how I can take care of this aspect of my life, because this is a dilemma with me.
Exactly. I understand fully your question and the context in which you've asked this question, and a very important question. I think that's where the practicality of it also makes a lot of difference. So when you, for example, you consult an organization, what is your purpose of giving a consultation to the organization? Is your purpose of giving the consultation to the organization for making a billing for the month? Or your purpose is to make a deep impact in the organization so that the organization sees a lot of benefits in your program, and that would make the organization come back to you more often.
Right.
So if the purpose is to create a deep impact in the organization, which makes the organization come back to you more often, I think you're focusing on the means and not the end result. The end result is your business.
I'm adding one more point here, a little more complexity here.
Okay.
And this is all based upon my experience. But because my question was not with respect to any organization, it's about Vivek, right? What I do as an individual. But I'm just adding one more point here. Now, that other person tells, I just need this much of support. Whether it works for me, whether it is not going to help me, I don't want to make an investment more than this much of rupees on this particular work. And but if you have to think from the perspective of adding value, then it will ask for 2 rupees. But other person is ready to give a 25 paisa, and he also saying, I'm not looking for it's a long-term perspective. I just need this much of transaction. So now what I should do, mean or the outcome?
I think that's where your value system drives you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that's where the value system actually comes in. I know quite a few very good friends of mine who had faced the very same situation you had shared in organizations, and the organization told them, no, I can pay you only this much, and because I have a lot of people who are ready to do it at this rate, and this is all I want. I don't want anything more than this. And this has happened, quite recently, and he
No,
was
it's
my colleague.
okay.
So
Yeah, it's okay. This is a real life situation.
yes,
And now the question with Vivek is, should I look for 25 paisa so that I can take care of my 1 month or 2 months or my expenses, immediate expenses, or my value system? No, I will not do any transactional work. I will work only where that makes sense from the bigger umbrella perspective. So what that is the dilemma, and my value system saying, okay, take care of your expense, go ahead. No, no, no. I as a Vivek, I can't do this. What should be the answer?
these are situations in life which actually gives, you don't have a not a black and white situation. These are the areas of gray in our
Yeah,
life,
yes, yes, yes.
and these areas of gray in life actually comes very often. And this is where you draw the line between red, amber, and green. When you are able to draw the line between red, amber, and green, when this is red and I will not be able to go, and I will not do it. Yeah, the amber is the areas of gray,
So,
and green, of course, there is no second thought about it.
right. So, I got the answer is with respect to my value system and from the source of my values, my decision will be based on that, and whatever the decision is, that is perfectly uh, okay. That is best to go with. There is no right or wrong. There is nothing which will tell me which will question mark my value system. It's purely from my own perspective, from my own sources, how how I am going to take the decision, and whatever the decision is, that is my ownership. That is I have to own it, and that will decide the impact, that will decide the outcome and the satisfactions at different levels.
You said it very right. I think that satisfaction, what you get, is what makes a difference. Even if you have not got a business, you don't regret.
Absolutely.
You don't feel bad about it.
Right.
And when you get the business, the satisfaction what you get makes a lot of difference. So
That's
ultimately, whether you get the business or don't get the business, you don't regret it, and you are satisfied when you get it. I think that makes a lot of difference. You
and
said
that
it
is what we are looking from life.
exactly.
Great. I think that's a beautiful sharing, Rama. What we will open our question answers to the audience, and I'm just allowing a participant to unmute themselves if they have any questions. So they can ask any question related to our topic of the day. And before that, I just want to share with you that next Thursday we are having a session on the wellness. Our one of leading doctor in acupuncture is going to be our guest for that Thursday evening. So please join us. So coming back to the participants, please ask if there is any questions you would like to ask to our guest today. We would be happy to answer your questions. Yeah, Uma, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. It was a very nice session from Mr. Ramanathan. I would like to ask one question from my side. See, I'm
Please.
a person who is working from home now for the last about 6 months now, and there's a lot of stress levels that I feel which is high when compared to the situation which was 6 months before. Like earlier, I used to travel a lot, reach my workplace, and then the amount of work that I was doing there, the stress levels was not that much higher than what I'm facing at when I'm working from home. See, there's no traveling there. You're at home, but still the stress levels are very high. Can you just give some inputs on this as to how to overcome this type of stress levels?
Yeah, I think a very important and question that comes to everybody's mind, or many of us are facing. When this lockdown started, many of us are quite happy that we can work from home, spend more time at home, but over a period of time, when this lockdown increased, I heard a lot of my colleagues also saying, there's a lot of frustration building up. The work is not, earlier at least, in my case, once I come back from office, I never used to open the laptop in the recent past, unlike in the past. So, but now my work gets over at 10:30, 11. And yesterday when I finished my work, it was at 11 o'clock like that. So though I'm working from home, it is more work. And that is probably the reason why the stress level increases. And what are your outlets for stress? I mean, when I get stressed, what I do is meditation, pranayama helps a lot to take care of my stress. As a matter of fact, when some important meeting in my office where I am supposed to make a presentation to the senior management, I find a lot of anxiety. And the best way I overcome that is I take a deep breathing for about 5 minutes, and it really calms me down. So one way to overcome stress is, I think that's where your meditation, pranayama really helps a lot. I have found it very useful. I'm not sure if this would work for you, but I'm very confident it will work.
I think you have got your answer, Uma, and
Thank you.
I want to add one more point here. What working well with me is meditation, and yoga is absolutely fantastically working well for me also. As soon as I will finish, I will finish my meditation piece. It's like a fresh start for the day. So please try this, and that is one way. And second is, whatever you love to do, please spend time with that also. It may be cooking, it may be gardening, or it may be walking, because all these things are also your hobbies or passion is also quite similar to the meditation only. That is also one way of doing meditation. Or singing a beautiful song which you love to sing, watching a movie. There is no difference between the meditation or doing what you love to do. So exactly. You can try, and it might be helpful.
I think you said it very right, Vivek. Meditation is just one part of it. What works for me may not work for somebody else, and there is no guarantee it will work for somebody else. Yes, so each one of us have to identify what works for us. But yes, what benefit I get during meditation, I get the same benefit when I actually run. There is a stage in my running when I run. A stage comes where I am in a trance and I'm in an autopilot mode. And I feel that I can keep on going on and on and on. And that's the meditative stage. And you never feel stressed. You never feel tired at that point of time. And
right.
Running, somebody can find it in singing, and somebody can find it in dancing. And I know a lot of people, my cousins who relieve their stress by singing. And we can always find our ways to, do what we love to do. And that's one way of removing stress. Great point made. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Because everyone, all of us are in the same journey. So we keep trying, learning, unlearn. So that is what we are doing. Okay. Yes. So Sandeep, Usha, do you have any question? If yes, we would love to answer you. Otherwise, we will go ahead with. Yeah, please.
My phone is muted. Why? Wait. It is saying mine is muted. Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, nice talking to you guys. It was a very nice conversation. In fact, these are all our way of life which we have been practicing, but for the past few years we have not been very effectively doing it, I should say. But what Ramanathan has said is definitely right. Yoga does wonders on your body, because in fact, why I'm saying this is I have the opportunity to grow up in Delhi, that to Delhi Tamil school, which was very like a Gurukulam sort of thing, the school we had. And at a very early age of around when I was in fifth or sixth, we had yoga and physical education curriculum, which has developed my body and mind and my thought process in that way it can take up any amount of stress. Instead of we concentrating on the modernized living and education, of course that's required. I'm not saying no to that, but the traditional way of the yoga, you can't ignore it by any other means. No other means of health drink can compensate with yoga, with internal stress and internal strength. In fact, as of hello,
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
as like in today's world of COVID, nothing else can work on you except your own self immunity, which we are ignoring, and we are what do you call? We are concentrating on different.
Muted. You are muted.
So what I say is it should be instead of one. In fact, the last we are changing the education pattern now. So we must look back what we had a long back when we were really like a golden place to live in. We should look into those periods. We should not forget our past. Yoga and meditation does wonders if it's been taught in the early days. Probably it will have wonders. They will be able to learn it fastly. That is my suggestion.
Absolutely. You said it very right.
Thank you, Ushaji, for your lovely sharing. I think that is what we have seen, and we are doing it. And I think our friend Rama is also focused upon these aspects of it, which help us to grow. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So thank you everyone for your wonderful questions. And Rama, it was a wonderful discussion, wonderful sharing by you, and I personally enjoyed it, and I am sure that our participants must have uh, find it meaningful, resourceful, and something which can be executed in day-to-day life under these difficult times, or no matter wherever we are or wherever they are. So with this, I would like to say thank you very much once again. And any last sharing you would like to make to our participants?
Uh, I think each one of us have enormous potential in us, and I wish all of us realize our potential, live our life to the fullest. And thank you so much for having me in your show. I feel honored for being part of your Smart Talk. Thank you so much, Vivek. And thank you, Sandeep, Ms. Usha Prabhakar, Usha Raman, and Ms. Uma Srinivasan for being part of this talk show. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.